good friend Chapman from Indigenous Tourism British Columbia. Chapman, thanks for joining me today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about AI, but specifically, obviously, you work for Indigenous Tourism British Columbia. We started to work together, collaborate a little bit. Now, there's sort of, let's maybe start off with your personal AI journey. I'm curious, kind of, what is your journey? What has it been? Where are you at with it?
Yeah, so I think that was a good question because, I like to think of myself as a little advanced in that section, but I mean, I'm always learning everything new just as much as everybody else. So my journey is really ChatGPT. I've actually just started to play around with some note takers. I find them very pushy. Actually, it's really funny, like a calendar application. So something that's a scheduling tool for me. I've always found that takes up 20 minutes of my day. If I get that 20 minutes, great. I'm working on something else, but really, early stages of AI, I understand them. I know, where I can find the fits, but, working with them to actually see the fits and see the benefits is another thing. So still in that early discovery stage myself, but looking to learn from you guys.
Yeah, looking forward to teaching you what I can. I'm really curious. Actually, you mentioned the note takers, and specifically, obviously, you show up to a meeting and it's there. Sometimes you show up to the meeting, it's there before you. I'm curious, in Indigenous culture, do people feel a little about that? Is that a conversation?
It is actually. In some instances, when I do enter a meeting, I do advise them if I'm working or on a call with community or stakeholders. I do let them know. I do have an AI note taker. If there's any objections, of course, I always feel like it's good to let them know, just like any standard call. But even outside, there is sentiment behind AI in these communities. Insofar as around security, that privacy aspect, so it's always good to ask first. But yeah, there's a bit of I get to say stigma, but not really. But it's always, I think it's understanding a bit more, knowing what it can and can't do, how it can be closed off, isolating your data kind of thing, and understanding that it's not, out there for everybody anyway.
Yeah. And on that note, like, I'm probably you and I will get there, but have you guys talked at your organization, or have you thought about things like policies around some of these things for staff or for like?
Question. I actually rediscovered tourism so that you guys have embarked on a tourism framework journey, and I think, as an organization, an Indigenous organization, it is a priority for us because within each department, all of our teams utilize AI differently. Our marketing teams are doing content creation. Our copywriters or our writers are using, is it Grammarly, I believe is what it's called. In corporate services, we're using ChatGPT and Slido. So there's different uses, but we've never laid out policies of usage. Cross departmentally, we're all using them autonomously, different purposes. So being able to, I think, frame that holistically and as an organization and understanding our purpose and what we're doing with it, I think is going to be key for us moving forward. And it's a great opportunity for us to continue building on our partnerships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm curious about, your stakeholders, or not, maybe not the right word, your partners, in terms of their AI journeys, or are they in an AI journey? Is this a conversation that even comes up?
It is. And it's been one, out of our most recent annual general meeting. We hold our stakeholder annual general meeting every year in the month of November. AI has been a hot topic for us, whether it has been around data sovereignty, but what I found, encouraging is right now it's about capacity building. Really about the opportunity to leverage AI in a way that's going to benefit the individual or the small business or entrepreneur. We're always looking for ways to be more proactive with our time, to leverage our time better. And I think AI is at a point now where we can really utilize it in key ways. Like we're talking about whether it's scheduling or these note takers. I used to be a journal guy. I still do it. My hand gets sore every now and then. But, the note taker, we're getting so refined to the point where they go through the meeting, they actually produce your action items for you. So it's kind of like saving you that time as well and distilling your notes and coming up with your own action items. So I think it's really about that, finding those fits and where the business can actually leverage AI productively, and kind of be able to turn to a new avenue or aspect of the business to refine that and continue enhancing along their way.
No, for sure. I'm curious from your perspective in terms of, ChatGPT, you mentioned, obviously using it for writing or things related to Indigenous sort of culture and heritage and language, not very good, is it?
No, it isn't. It is one of those things that, Indigenous First Nations culture is largely an oral history, and all of our knowledge is generally passed down that way. So you're really not going to find those stories or that history on Google so openly. So, what I found in using ChatGPT is creating my own GPT. Really dialing in, a model that, so for instance, I do a lot of work around partnerships and advocacy. So I've actually built a GPT that is kind of my partnerships and advocacy bot. I'll feed it documents such as the distinctions-based approach in British Columbia, which is the primer for understanding, title and rights in British Columbia as a First Nations individual, feeding it the calls to action. But, feeding these documents and isolating them and building it up, I think provides a foundation for us to better leverage it. And that's the big thing that I found is finding the right way and the right information to direct ChatGPT to it and kind of build its knowledge for it. The biggest thing I found is working with it, whether it's through dictation or constant work that I've been doing through emailing. Emailing actually is another one, and understanding the language and how we speak in the Indigenous culture. It's picking up on that. It establishes those patterns, so it can mimic you in a way. But again, it really boils down to finding that information that you can leverage and build upon it.
Yeah. So I think kind of just to summarize that is, the current tools don't have a lot of Indigenous culture, heritage, and language built into them. But to use the tools effectively, you got to train it on the right language, the right context, right, the right information, and then it could be a useful tool, right?
It really can. It's one of those things when you're building PowerPoints and stuff like that you spend 3 or 4 hours on it. Now you refine your notes, you build your key concepts, you feed it into, and it saves you 2 hours in the end, possibly. So
yeah, I personally think that is such a tremendous opportunity. And so I guess from your perspective, what needs to happen to create comfort amongst Indigenous populations and amongst leaders, amongst knowledge keepers? Is that a policy conversation? Is that just an understanding conversation? What do you think needs to happen?
Suppose I think it's a level of understanding. Again, it's one of those opportunities that I think we can engage with our communities a bit more on, and that's a large reason why we've decided to work, and a large reason why we partnered with you on this initiative. AI is something that is coming at us fast, and it's we're seeing the benefits create themselves rapidly. And the more we can understand it and share that understanding within communities, within businesses and entrepreneurs, I think it builds a level of comfort, but also understanding the policies that need to go in behind its usage. So understanding, and it kind of comes down to one of those conversations that we have through our value of tours and in some of our ambassador programs, is that idea of cultural selling versus cultural sharing. So defining what aspects of the culture is shareable. There will always be certain aspects that are sacred. Just ceremony that just may or may not be fit into an AI. There's a lot of culture that can be, and I think it's a matter of identifying those opportunities and building upon that to gauge and gain that level of trust with AI in general as a tool that we can use to really leverage for.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way you do that distinction. I think it's a really key distinction, right? And for me personally, I think that it's such an exciting thing to think about as an initiative and like the opportunities. And I hope that we can work together to get to a place where we can do something really cool and really help the community kind of maintain its culture, heritage, language. Also tell the stories it wants to tell, right? In a really authentic way, right? So I'm really personally excited about that. I don't know.
Really resonates for me too. That's great.
Yeah. So that's super exciting. So my final question around AI, and this is sort of shifting gears a little bit, but if you could wave a magic wand and get AI to do one thing for you, what would it be?
Honestly, creating a virtual assistant. Honestly, I'm still trying to find and work on those capacity building techniques, or how we can leverage different tools to really open up my day. I'm a firm believer in following your strengths path.
Yes.
And I don't like focusing on my weaknesses because I pour a lot of energy and focusing on my weaknesses. Yeah. I don't have time for what I'm bad at. So I'm really trying to find AI, that tool to work on my weaknesses for me. in that background and leave me to my device.
It's amazing that you say that. So I'm dyslexic, and so AI is like honestly like a magic tool for me because I read slowly, slowly. Now I can just talk. Me, I can talk. So I can use it just to talk, and I can turn talk into text, and then I can refine, and I actually can like literally 10x my sort of output in a really positive way, and have less mental. It's less mentally draining for me at the end of the day, which is amazing, right?
Leverage different tools that can get it done pretty quicker, stress free, wellness.
Exactly. Nice. Awesome. Amazing. Well, thanks so much for the conversation. I really appreciate it.